So we've talked and practiced a little bit with change, talked about dukkha, right? Did we talk about that? Stubbing your toe, right? And then did we start to talk some about the dukkha associated with change? Or no? Or is that what we're doing tonight?
It's all about dukkha.
It was just dukkha.
Moving closer, coming closer to.
Okay, great. So dukkha as ow, right? As ouch. I stubbed my toe, ouch. My friend lied to me. Just the aches and pains of the body and the heart and the mind that we inevitably come up against in this life, right? So that's like the grossest level of dukkha. It's very, not much more to be said about it. It happens, right? You get a little bumper sticker, dukkha happens. It happens. There's no way to be born into this world and not experience that. The teachings aren't saying everything excuse me, is this level of dukkha. We don't always stub our toe. Sometimes we feel fine. Sometimes our hearts and our minds aren't suffering, right? We're in that, at least in that way. It's right. Everything is pretty okay. Yeah. So, but when it's not, when it's ouch in the body or the heart and the mind, that's dukkha. That's the first grossest level of dukkha. So no problem with that, right? We can get on board with that. Like, yeah, okay. The second level of dukkha is radically different. It's subtler, and we really start to connect with the radical nature of the Buddha's teachings. So the second level of dukkha is directly related to change, the first characteristic. These three characteristics, if I talked about the light going through the prism, yeah, it's just one light. It shows up as green, purple, blue, right? So you can say, oh, that's different. And it's different manifestations of that light, but it's still just one light coming into that prism, yeah? So these three characteristics, good analogy for that. They all inter-are with each other. They all make up each other. And especially change. Change is like the base of the other two. So precisely because everything changes, everything is unstable. Nothing stays how it is. It changes. It has to. There's nothing that stays the same. It's not possible. And actually, things are changing at an incredibly rapid pace if one looks close enough, either with an electron microscope or with a deeply, deeply concentrated mind. Either way, one can see that what's happening is tiny particles coming in and out of existence very, very, very quickly. And that's what's underneath everything. That's what everything is made of. Things are coming in and out of existence incredibly quickly. So they're unstable on that way. They seem stable, but that's just to this the lens of this mind in this particular state sees it this way. Change the lens, i.e. crank up the mindfulness and really crank up the concentration. Change the lens and you're going to see something very different. Yeah? Or change the lens, like our eyes or whatever, change the lens, i.e. electron microscope, and you're going to see something very, very different. You're going to see how unstable everything is. So there's that level of instability, but then there's just the level of more ordinary level of instability. The weather. Gorgeous day today, right? Tomorrow it could rain. It's unstable. It won't stay the same. your mood. You woke up in a good mood, and for some reason you get to work in the middle of the day, you're crabby. It's unstable. It changes. Everything is like that. Just in an ordinary way. Yet in a subatomic way, yes, but even in an ordinary way. Unstable is a very good translation of the Pali word dukkha. So, things are unstable. You're sitting, you have a few silky breaths in a row, it feels kind of nice. You're present, you're not being dogged by, reoccurring difficult thoughts, and then it changes, right? Do we ask for these things that come up in our mind? Gee, I think I'll really start suffering now. I'll start remembering that argument I had 2 weeks ago where I really felt like an idiot. No, it just starts. So that unstable. And that includes everything, which includes pleasant things. All the pleasant things. All the pleasant experiences at all the sense doors, right? The 5 physical ones and then the sense door of the mind. All pleasant experiences that we experience come to an end. That is the second level of dukkha. The dukkha of even pleasant experiences coming to an end. So we go from dukkha on a gross level of ow, just being that set of experiences, to now it meaning dukkha, everything is dukkha, because everything ends. There's nothing except nibbana, except the nibbana element, the nirvana or nibbana. Nibbana is Pali, nirvana is Sanskrit. Everything except that is coming and going. Only the nibbana element is stable, which is why it's free of stress, which is why they call it the deathless, because it's not arising or passing. It's not coming and going. But everything else is, including what's pleasant. So to the degree, so now, in terms of relating this to suffering, to the degree that we're not on board with this truth, with this characteristic, to the degree that we don't know it for how it actually is, then is to the degree that we'll suffer. Because what we then do is cling to the pleasant experiences, because we want them to last, because they're pleasant. And we enjoy them. And we're supposed to enjoy them. The Buddha said pleasant experiences are to be enjoyed. Sometimes like Buddhism can get this like dark rap or the Buddha taught that everything is suffering, and just that whole realm of misinformation, right? This sense pleasures are to be enjoyed. That's what you do with them, but they're not to be clung to. It's pleasant. It's happening. What else are you going to do but enjoy it? Right? We like pleasant experiences. So we enjoy it, but they end. And when we don't, or to the degree that we haven't embodied this second level of dukkha, is to the degree that then, to some small level, we think something is wrong when it ends. It's like, and that is where the stress comes in. Dukkha as stress, when it's translated as stress. The stress of, and you just plug in something that you like ending. It's stressful when we're not fully on board with, yes, this must end. There's a little bit of angst. Remember, dukkha can, even on the first level of stubbing your toe, or, the slightest discomfort of the body, all the way to the most agonizing pain, in the heart and the mind. The slightest little hurt that maybe we didn't feel like someone listened to us or something, to the most unbelievable sense of betrayal or loss in the mind. It's quite a range. So this angst, this stress of pleasant things coming to an end also has the range from just the littlest, like, oh, that was a good dinner. And then you know what we do? Because of that? What's for dessert? I'm serious. Dessert is there to quell that what was pleasant just ended. So let's have some more pleasant. It's not the only thing, right? There's all sorts of culinary explanations of why we have dessert, etc. But it does end up serving that purpose. It doesn't, and this is the important part, it doesn't mean that, it doesn't change the pleasant things. It doesn't mean they're wrong. So I wrote this on the paper. It's just because it's a great example. The other night I was meditating with a meditation group, a local meditation group we have at IMS. And I was just relaxed and calm, and the mind was pretty steady, for a few moments, just hanging out, just lovely, enjoying it. And then someone coughed, right? And it just, right? I just watched it. It just and in that moment, it was so clear, this calm and concentration is dukkha. Not because it's bad. Oh, it's dukkha. It's, No, it's dukkha. Because it was, sorry. Rats. Anyways, it was dependent on the room being quiet, unstable. It was unstable. As soon as the conditions that supported its presence changed, it's totally dependent on those conditions. That's very unstable because the conditions themselves are dependent on whatever makes up those conditions. The whole thing is really unstable. The whole thing meaning life. But just noticed it in that moment. So instead of being pissed off because someone coughed or whatever, it's like, this calm, this concentration is dukkha. Just seeing it clearly for what it was. It doesn't mean that the next time it's there I don't enjoy it. It's just, I just saw it for what it was, which is dukkha. It's unstable. That's what we mean. And like I was saying, because fortunately in that moment there was clarity in my mind that it was dukkha, I didn't suffer. I didn't suffer like, that was so great to be calm, now I'm not calm. I didn't suffer and make that person wrong because they sneezed. It just was, instead of the mind doing that, the mind was busy seeing the truth. And when we see the truth, we don't suffer. It's that simple. This is very simple. I've said this before. This isn't rocket science. This is very, very, the mechanics of this path are really simple. Okay, I'm going to stop there, see if there's any comments or questions, and then we're going to practice because that's where you want to put it into practice. Anything not clear or, yeah?
I have a thought. Dukkha, I think, for me, takes away sometimes my ability or capacity to enjoy, because I know it's passing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how much do I allow myself to really enjoy that
Mm.
moment
Mm-hmm.
of bliss?
Yep. Yep.
You know, it's always just like that shoe's gonna fall.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is that just more meditate? I know I need to meditate
Yeah.
more, always, but.
Well, it's just about, you could say meditate, it's more about being present. Because if in the moment, if you're thinking, yeah, but this is going to end, you're not with the experience. Just be with the experience. And it will end, and you'll know it.
Yeah. Whether I like it.
The knowing that we talk about isn't so intellectual. It comes through experience and observation. Yeah, so best to not spend the time thinking this is going to end. Because that's, what is that? That's worry. It's a hindrance. It's worry, it's slight anxiousness. It's not helpful. Better to connect fully, but mindfully, with the experience. And when it ends, let it go. Or if you don't let it go, notice that. And notice that it brings you suffering. See, you can't do the practice wrong. There's no doing it wrong. So a pleasant experience, it happens, there's no clinging, there's equanimity, great. And you notice that. And you learn from it. Not clinging is good. Not because I'm saying it, because in your own experience, you just experienced it. Or a pleasant experience ends and you cling to it, you throw a tantrum, but you're aware, and you see, this is suffering. This is not happy making. That's good to see too. Both of those are equal. Both of those are equal.
And mindful.
Yeah, if the mindfulness was the common theme. Yeah. Yeah. You are all completely allowed to be exactly who you are. You don't have to change to become free. You don't have to get better. Trying to get better is a huge mistake. There's too much self-hatred in trying to get better. Just pay attention. Take all that energy. Think about both the physical, but also especially the psychic and emotional, mental energy that you put into getting better. Take that energy and put it into being present instead. Be who you are. You're allowed to make mistakes. If you're mindful, you'll learn from them. But much better to just be who you are, make a mistake, whatever a mistake is, that's just a word. Act unskillfully, be mindful of it, and learn from that. Much better, 1,000 times better to do that than be constricted trying to be good. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anyways, that's a whole nother thing. Anything else about this second viparina-dukkha, it's called? The dukkha associated with change, which takes us just from the unpleasant experiences of the first level to every experience, because every experience is changing, even the pleasant ones. And especially where we look at the pleasant ones, because that's where we tend to cling to. Good? Yeah.
Chas, when you say clinging to something, so what does that look like if you're clinging to something pleasant?
You're in a relationship and it ends, and 6 months later you're still like pining away for the person. It's day 5 of a 7-day vacation and you start freaking out. We don't allow it to take its natural course. We want to interrupt with life and literally clinging. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. we look in the mirror and see the body aging, and we don't want it to. That's clinging. I mean, that's a huge one, right?
Yeah.
The body, the ultimate teacher. Yeah, you think things are stable? I'll show you stable. Let alone getting older, but all of a sudden, oh, by the way, your blood test just came back and, or whatever. Before I start to talk about the third level of dukkha, I just want to point out, sometimes we hear teachings and and the mind just goes, no. Have you come across it? Like, no. I'm not ready for that. It's just, no. Don't worry about that. Like, don't give yourself a hard time for that. It's okay. Because over time, just no becomes still like I don't think I want to inhabit that world. I'm not ready to inhabit that world, right? And over time, no becomes possible. In time, it becomes experiential, and then over time, it becomes home. But if and when that happens, just see it as part of the process. Don't see it as some feeling of yourself, because it happens. Just like, or even experientially, we might have deep experiences of change, or of instability, or of not self, and it ain't always fun. The heart, the being can just recoil from that. No. Because it's so radically different. Scary, yeah. So if and when that happens, it's totally okay. It's just part of the unfolding. And if you stick with it, if you stick with this practice, no will turn to yes at some point. You know, Joseph Goldstein has all sorts of really good mantras. One of his best ones is, it's okay. Because it operates on different levels too. It's okay, like, it's okay. It's okay. Also, it's okay. And so, just going on a little tangent here. So you get angry. It's okay. It's okay. It's totally okay. Learn from it. Pay attention. Pay attention. Be with it. Be intimate with it. Do that second skill. Move closer to it. Get to know it. Listening to Dharma talk, whatever, getting bored. Thinking about when we can go or what you're going to do tomorrow. It's okay. It's okay. Pay attention. Move closer to it. Learn from it. You know, drop in anything that we can experience. It's okay. You don't have to get better to walk this path. You don't have to. You're completely released from that should. It's not about getting better. It's about seeing more clearly. To the degree that we get that is to the degree that this path really starts to get joyful. Because even the challenging things stop being a problem. They're just challenging. But they're not wrong, and we're not wrong. That's so And you can't force getting that. We can't force. We just live into it and slowly start to get that. We all start wanting to be better. That's all right. I mean, that's what we do. First we're a freshman, then we're a sophomore, then we're, right? We start in this level, then you move up in work. And it's just the world we live in. How could we not start our Dharma practice in that paradigm? Not possible. So we all start wanting to be better, let alone the psychological part of it, what we weren't loved for when we were children and blah, 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 all of that. So it's big, wanting to get better so that something good will happen. Right? That's the paradigm.
I think you're really suffering, right? So we're not suffering.
Right, right. So slowly, though, we learn that it's not about getting better, that the ending of suffering comes from paying attention, not from getting better. And that is just far out. It's not like a light switch, like, now I get it. It's like everything else on this path, quite organic and slow. But just to name that, just to kind of plant that, or that seed, and to pay attention when you catch yourself wanting to be better and trying to get better. From thinking you have to behave a certain way, all the way down to the smallest thinking that you should stay with the breath longer. Let it be. Zen Master Dogen said, someone asked him, what is enlightenment? And he said, enlightenment is to be without anxiety about imperfections. He only taught what was important to practice so that we could be released from suffering. And dukkha is the first noble truth. It's so important to see it correctly. And it's important to learn it in all its layers so that we can see it's not a bad thing. In fact, it's understanding it that leads to happiness. I teach one thing and one thing only, dukkha and its end. I teach dukkha. First noble truth is to be experienced. That's what we're supposed to do with it. Experience it. Not run away from it, think it's bad, condemn it. Experience it, know it, become intimate with it. Use that second skill and become intimate with it. The more intimate with it we become, the less we suffer. But it's not words. It's not in words. You gotta pay attention and become intimate with your experience based on presence. Yeah?
Is it okay to say something?
Please.
I don't want to interrupt your
It's all right.
wise train of
It's all right.
consciousness. Well, just hearing you say that phrase, one thing and one thing only, it brings me to a retreat I was at with Eugene Cash. And just remembering how on retreat, like,
It's all about experience. And we have to be present in order to experience anything. That's why we practice. To be present, to not be out to lunch. Lost in the dream. Next time we will foray into the mire of not self. It's actually very as simple as any of the other. Just thank you.
Thank Thank you.
too.